The Shadow, the Hydra, Chapter 8. It took Selber several minutes to get the hang of the radio mixer. He kept talking to it while he played with the dials, but everything sounded garbled. At last a voice spoke in response to Selbert's efforts. It said, "This is head number 7. As occupant of the robot, the Shadow could hear as well as see, but he wasn't able to identify the voice of Head 7. The whir from the mixer disguised the tone, making it quite crackly. That didn't matter to Selber. Knowing that he'd opened conversation with a new chief, Selber began to talk. First he expressed loyalty to the Hydra and all its heads. That seemed to impress Head 7, who announced that he could use the services of a capable tooth. Then the voice that really belonged to Charles Medor put an important question. "Why have you not heard from Head number 4? Was the query. "We who formed the Hydra expected more from him." "As did I," returned Selber. "Something must have happened, because Head number 4 met the Shadow." "That might be it," replied Selber. Then, a bit puzzled, he said, "How did you know about the Shadow?" Head number 7 gave a cryptic chuckle. It didn't perplex the Shadow, because he knew that others of Mance's followers had seen him around Glencoe's, something that Selber probably had not learned before Mance sent him away alone. "The Hydra is everywhere," spoke number 7. "His heads are many, his eyes numberless. Like his ears and teeth, the Hydra cares for all who obey his mandates." "I know," said Selber gratefully. "I could have hidden here had I been in danger. No one would have found me." "No one could have found you," stressed the whirring voice. "Turn to the robot that was to be your hiding place." Selber turned to face Roger. "Beside the robot is a lever," continued Head 7. "Take a hold of it and draw it toward you hard." As Selber gripped the lever that projected from the robot's platform, the Shadow not only heard a whirring hiss, but he raised the shell arms in hoping to stop Selber. The Shadow's intuitive brain had grasped a thing that hadn't struck Selber. A menace was at hand, and though the Shadow had no regrets for Selber, he didn't want to share the consequences. A crackly laugh of Head 7's voice was a giveaway to the Shadow, though not to Selber. Fortunately, the Shadow's hiss and the sudden movement of the arms failed utterly to halt Selber. The dupe simply thought that the robot's machinery was in action, for Selber's own problems had caused him to pay little attention to the things that the ear mentioned. His lapse on Selber's power was fatal. Selber pulled the lever. It came loose with his hand the moment it released a mechanism beneath the floor. With that, the room went mad. All the machinery cut loose at once. The huge revolving hoop began to spin. At stepped-up speed, the stratosphere balloon puffed, shot upward, deflated, filled again. With its tall glass case, the tooth scooped, clapped open, clanged shut, and began to jab forward on a long rod, like a crane in action. Poison gases seething in their case. A heavy crusher in the last corner banged down, popped up, banged down again in tremendous fashion. Fully 5 feet square, that crusher was horrendous when it began to act that way. The perpetual lamp did nothing. It simply continued to flicker in the glass case on the shelf above the radio mixer. The fact that the robot hurled itself apart and clattered in sections on the platform was simply part of the chaos, as far as Selber was concerned. The dazed man didn't see the Shadow come from the robot's interior, for Selber had swung back to the mixer, shrieking that the lever had broken loose and hell along with it. To which came Mednor's response, a triumphant crackle of Head number 7 delivering words that were wrong in every fact until the final statement. "You tricked us, Selber. We know you for who you were, the Shadow in disguise. Clever of you to play the part of a simple secretary. Things went further than you thought they would. But you did manage to finish Mance afterward, otherwise we would have heard from Head number 4. Now you are back again, trying to trick the Hydra. We are waiting for you to make this effort the last. It is death for you, Selber. Things have gone too far again. This time they are designed for doom to the Shadow." Doom to the Shadow. The whole mistaken notion of the Hydra was bearing fruit, for the Shadow himself was in the very trap designed for Selber, the man the Hydra heads had marked as the black-cloaked warrior in disguise. Terrible indeed was the trap, famous waxwork museums of the past that held their so-called chamber of horrors, this modern museum of mechanical sciences had a chamber of marvels that inventive genius had transformed to one of real horrors. It didn't take the statement of a Hydra head to prove it. Mere delivery of high speed did the trick. Spearhead of the mechanical attack was the great rim that normally kept spinning in its corner. The huge loop weighed at least a quarter of a ton, and hidden electromagnet that controlled it was on a greater electric than the corner confines. It was geared to cover the whole room when the power was on in full, smashing through the wooden rail that hemmed in the mighty hoop, cut a swath across the room. Its spin was still moderate, but its force was terrific. It simply chopped down anything it struck. The shadow dodged, as did Selber, and the hoop struck the table that held the radio mixer. Medor's worried voice chopped off as table and cabinet went to tinder. Grabbing Selber, the shadow flung him sidewards. The massive hoop, slashing past the platform, crunched the shell of the robot into a flattened mess of metal. But in flinging Selber, the shadow saved him from a menace equal to the whirling hoop. The toothed scoop was shoving forward with its hungry jaw, hoping to gobble a human victim. All it gained was the shadow's cloak as he dived along with Selber. The massive teeth chewed the cloak into shreds. Up again, the shadow hurled Selber away from the hoop's path. The smashing rim took the stratosphere cabinet instead and broke it all apart. A fierce hiss told that hydrogen was coming in quantity from the crush tank. Still, there wasn't a chance for the shadow and Selber to reach the door. The hoop was after them, forcing them to another dodge. As the two figures rolled in the corner of the room, the hoop went past and smashed the cabinet of poison gases, releasing them as another sortie of doom. The shadow tried to haul Selber toward the door, only to be blocked by the rim in its next circuit. This time, the shadow barely saved Selber from the crusher. In the other corner, all that the crusher caught was the brim of the shadow's hat. Flipping beneath the crusher, the slouch headpiece became a replica of a pancake. Grabbing the lever that Selber had wrenched and dropped, the shadow took a slash at the revolving rim. Playing hoop with that thing didn't work. The lever flew away like a feather and landed on the platform belonging to the ruined robot. Away again went the shadow, dragging Selber with him. It was lucky that they didn't head toward the platform, for the rim cut through it like a buzzsaw hitting a pine board. All the while, the toothing scoop was clamping the crusher, bashing, ready for their deadly work if the mighty rim failed. How long those menaces could be dodged was something that hardly mattered, for the gases would bring death within a few more minutes. The shadow reached the door and tried to open it, only to find it bolted on the other side. He dodged back to avoid the metal rim's gyration and came into Selber's clutch in the middle of the floor. Having realized that his companion was the shadow, Selber had gone as mad as the machines. The crazed man still had faith in the Hydra, seeming to think that by fighting the uncloaked shadow he would win favor with the multiple master who had disowned him. Not to be bothered with Selber, the shadow hurled him over by the demolished platform. Grabbing the discard lever, Selber dove for his human foe. With mere minutes to live, it was a question of one life or another. Selber, accomplice in the murder, deserved to die. Still, the shadow was ready to go the limit to keep the dupe alive. He grabbed the lever that Selber swung. It locked with the madman and reeled him away from the approaching hoop. Selber wouldn't have it that way. He fought back and thereby finished it himself. The hoop glanced him, sent him against the scoop, which chopped him hard. Mangled, Selber went shrieking forward to meet the hoop again. This time it threw him to the crusher, which sprawled him and more. What was left of Selber rolled, or rather slid, away dead. The hoop came slashing around again to make worse pulp of the victim's body. The shadow had scarcely any time to glance at Selber. During those devastating stages, still carrying the lever, the shadow was dodging the hoop and its allies, the long-necked scoop and the hammering crusher. Precious minutes were gone. The shadow couldn't survive another in the gas-filled room. His own brain was whirring madly, and one thing stuck. The lamp on the shelf, the only thing undamaged. The Hydra's men had mentioned it, but it hadn't thought it important. It could be important to the shadow. Among the deadly gases that were filling the room was an oversupply of inflammable hydrogen. Finding himself near the remnants of the platform, the shadow turned and flung the lever of the glass cylinder on the shelf. Even before the iron rod reached its mark, the shadow saw the great hoop on a now electric coming straight at him across the room, up to block the one place that he must reach, the door. The rim was endwise. Instinctively, the shadow took a dive straight at it. He was arrowing one away, while the hoop revolved, coming from the opposite direction. Straight through the great rim went the shadow. His feet were grazed by the edge as it finished the turn, but they came clear. In the midst of that long slide toward the door, the shadow heard the iron level crash the glass cylinder that housed the perpetual lamp. When the glass shattered, the flame was bare. The flame spoke with a mighty puff as it ignited the gas that filled the room. The gas produced a terrific blast that packed more wallop than all the mechanical contrivances put together. The room didn't blow apart. Instead, its weak spot gave, and the weak spot was the door. It burst like a safety valve, and with that flame that hurled went through went the shadow. So swift was the explosion, so complete its result, that the shadow wasn't scorched by the vanishing flame. He landed clear across the outer exhibit room and came groggily to his feet, while men were dashing in from the other door. They didn't see the rising shape that looked like Cranston. They were on their way to stop the mechanical madnesses in the Chamber of Marvels. When the current was turned off, the arrivals found Silver's body, or what was left of it. Certain men, workers for the Hydra, also discovered tiny shreds of black cloth and a flattened piece of felt. That settled them, in their opinion, regarding Silver. The Hydra had eliminated the shadow. A certain cab driver named Mo Shrevnitz would have disagreed. At that very moment he was carrying a very groggy passenger to the hospital. Having had both Selber and the shadow as passengers earlier in the evening, Mo knew which was which. This person who had stumbled out of the building, collapsed in the waiting cabin, was certainly the shadow. Mo's chief had taken a terrific beating, but he would come through. Mo knew it from experience. Whenever the shadow muttered, he was all right. He had a way of pushing every ounce of strength into words that were important. Mo caught those words. It was his business to catch them at a crucial time like this. Paragon, trust, came the shadow's muster. Robbery tomorrow. The Hydra. That was all, and it was enough. Local agents would pick up where the shadow had left off, wheeling the cab in through the hospital gates. Mo was grimly sure that crime would be stopped cold when the time came. Tonight the events should have told Mo that he was being over-hopeful. One thing had been proven very definitely by the shadow's masterful escape from the lair of murderous machines. The logic was this: the Hydra hadn't managed to stop the shadow. Therefore, only the shadow could stop the Hydra.